Psychic Radio, WYCD HD3 Detroit, KJAQ HD3 Seattle, WBMX HD3 Boston, and on AOL Radio and Yahoo Launchcast.
Okay, it is Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno, and we are very, very pleased this evening to welcome Lee Hadwin, a marvelous fellow we've been talking to before the show. He's in London, a native of North Wales. And let's begin with our usual questions. Can an ordinary person literally become someone else while sleeping, then have no conscious memory of it? Can we have brilliant artistic talent but know nothing about it? Can we live in one parallel world in the daytime and another one at night?
Well, hey there, and welcome to the 90th broadcast of Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. I'm Paul, and I'm
You're
Ben.
Not Paul, I'm Paul.
I'm really tired right now. I'm Ben, and here is my co-host and partner in the Paranormal, my dad.
We're back on CBS Radio and PsychicOnAir.com. And as I say, we're very happy to welcome one of the most unusual guests we have ever had.
And feel free to join our discussion today. Call us toll-free.
Well, wait a minute. Let me countermand that, because we were trying to set up our toll-free number, but it just hadn't worked. So we're just going to stick with the other number. Right. We'll have that fixed for next week. I pretty much guarantee it.
So yeah, it's 248-545-7685. Or if you're listening on a computer, use the cool instant feedback feature on your screen.
Okay. By day, 33-year-old Lee Hadwin is a nurse originally from northern Wales, and by night, he's an artist. That's not so unusual, I guess, but here's where Lee is different. When he wakes up, he says he has no memory of having created his brilliant works of art. Lee has been walking in his sleep since the age of 4, but it was only since he stayed over at a friend's house at the age of 16 that he first began to draw in his sleep. Lee has been described by the Edinburgh Sleep Clinic as unique. With no training, no talent, and no inclination in waking life to be an artist, Lee by night draws and sketches portraits, figures, and landscapes. In his late teens and early 20s, while still living at home, Lee began to draw or scribble on walls, tables, clothes, discarded newspapers. I'm not going to ask what his parents thought about that. With pens, crayons, and coal, anything he could get his hands on. Now he's better prepared and has his sketchbooks and materials scattered around his apartment, which he shares with his partner, Clint. Even he admits at the start his work wasn't much to look at, but as the years have passed, the drawings have become more detailed, more profound, and now with interest from galleries around the world, Lee has discovered a global demand for his work. There are plans for exhibitions in London, Paris, and New York, and Lee has been featured in some British television and newspapers as well, and magazines. He now lives in London. His website, www.leehadwin.com, and you can see some of his art on our Talking Points page for this show at behindtheparanormal.com.
Lee Hadwin, welcome to Behind the Paranormal.
It's great to be here, guys.
That's great. You're coming through loud and clear there, Lee. So Ben has our first question.
So, you've never had a single art lesson in your life. What, is that true?
Yeah, I mean, basically, Ben and Paul, it's just obviously what you go through with primary school and high school, just your normal art lessons. But I was never really into art. I was more into music. That was my life, was the music side of things. But in terms of art, I've just never been interested in art. And yeah, as a child growing up, I could never draw, which today I can't draw while I'm awake.
Okay.
Yeah, do you do it every night or just certain nights?
No, it can vary. And basically it can go from I can do something once a week, then I think may happen for a few months, and then I may do 3 drawings in 1 week. What's strange, I mean, the fact that I'm drawing anyway, but what's strange is I can leave half a drawing and then go back to it a few days later while I'm asleep and carry on with that piece.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing. How many works of art have you painted?
Over the years, it must be getting around about 200-300. But obviously the ones I've got on my website are quite intricate. A lot of them were just scribbles, and obviously from the age of 4 to 16, a lot of it was just scribbling on walls, etc. So obviously I haven't got a lot of that stuff left. Obviously I've got pictures saved, but of the original stuff from the early days I haven't really got. So it's basically over the last 15 years which I've saved.
Wow.
Wow. Like what colors do you mainly use?
It's an interesting point you make. I only started drawing in colour this year, in February, March of this year. Up until that stage, I've always drawn in black and white. So, yeah, it's been a bit of a strange time this last year.
Huh. That's interesting. I think we'll bring that up later when we talk about increasing paranormal activity as we approach 2012. Okay, I don't know what to think about that, but there's all sorts of speculation. How did your family react to this when you started to, your mother got up in the morning and there were all over the walls, works of art, cave or whatever?
Yeah, because it's been a gradual thing, Paul. Obviously, from the age of 4, it wasn't just drawing. You get up sleepwalking as a lot of kids do. And it was basically, I just used to go under the stairs a lot and just start scribbling on the wall. So obviously, because they were just scribbles, my parents didn't think anything of it. It was just, I'd grab a pen or whatever, felt tip, crayon, and just start scribbling. So it went unnoticed, so to speak, in that sense, because obviously I think a lot of kids do a lot of weird things in their sleep anyway, growing up.
Okay.
And because it wasn't, a piece of art, so to speak, it was just obviously put to one side. And it was only really until I started getting into my late teens where the drawing started getting a lot more intricate. Right. So yeah, it's been a gradual thing.
Well, Ben used to sleep with his eyes partly open. I thought that was pretty creepy.
Anyway. Yeah, my mum walked on me a few times the same, thinking I was dead.
Yeah, right. So
not very nice.
When you began to do this, did your parents or whoever you were with, at night, notice that you were getting up? Has anyone witnessed? I'm sure someone at some point has witnessed you getting up and just systematically going about this.
Yeah,
art.
many a times. My parents, close friends, relatives. I've got quite a lot of footage, obviously saved over the years. There is a little bit on YouTube as well. I try and keep a lot of the footage to myself. I don't really. One thing since the world's media attention over the last 4 or 5 years, I didn't want to obviously exploit myself in such a way where I just it's hard to explain. I don't want to put thoughts and ideas. I've got my own ideas where it may be. I don't want to influence other people's thoughts. So I've kept that side of my life pretty private until the last few years. So it's only been these last couple of years where I've had, a demand of drawings and going to the Edinburgh Sleep Clinic, having therapy, etc., just to try and find, basically what's happening to me and where it's coming from.
So what happens at the sleep clinic?
Basically, I was at the Edinburgh Sleep Clinic for a couple of days. It was while they were filming for an ITV show over here, which was Sleepwalkers of the Night, which I think may be coming to America. It's just been aired in New Zealand. Mm-hmm. And basically, they just wired me up overnight for 3 or 4 nights just to study my sleep patterns. Apart from having restless legs, they found nothing abnormal there, and basically just said it was a unique case and that they'd not heard of anyone creating something in their sleep.
Okay.
Which I do disagree with, because if you look into the music world, I think a lot of musicians can dream up tunes, and the following day can write the music the following day. So I don't see any difference to that really.
Okay. Yeah, I had a question about that a little later, relating it to your music. Now I've noticed a number of different styles in your. I'm sorry, but did you have a question?
No, I'm just cracking my back.
Okay. All right. Oh well, teenagers. Anyway, a number of different styles in your art. Some of it seems abstract, and I'm no art expert, but I mean, some of it seems a little bit impressionistic, and you have the lovely human figures. Does that? I don't know. It's usually artists will paint in one or maybe 2 styles, but you seem to paint in all sorts of styles. Have you ever sort of thought much about that? Why?
I hadn't up until doing the documentary for ITV1 2 years ago, because I went to an art critic here in London, and he mentioned that there were so many different styles, and obviously I'm not into art, so it doesn't really mean much to me.
Yeah.
Because I know different styles of music, but when it comes to art, I wasn't really, I don't really know anything about styles, and as I say, it's only been this last year I've started drawing really, so to speak, in abstract light colours, etc.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
This is going to sound like a funny question, but do you like your art? Do you yourself enjoy it and appreciate it when you look at it?
It's hard to say, Paul. I always get this question, but to me, when I look at the art, it doesn't mean really much to me, in the sense that because I don't recall doing it, it feels like it's not my work, if so to speak. So I've got I'm not attached to the piece, so to speak.
Yeah. Has anyone tried to wake you while you're doing this? I've heard, I don't know if that's a myth or not, but I've heard that that's not a good thing to do. Has anyone ever tried?
Many a time. I mean, even some of the YouTube footage, I've got a couple of friends trying to wake me, but there's a piece which I haven't put on yet, which will go on over the next few weeks, is I've actually drawn on one of my friends in my sleep. They've taken the pen off me. I've actually carried on drawing with my finger.
Really? Okay.
No ink, but I've carried on drawing, so... Yeah, I'll get that uploaded over the next few weeks for people. So, yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
All right. Yeah, it's leehadwin.com, everybody, when you want to check out Lee here. And again, our phone number. We tried to have our toll-free number on the line. However, it didn't quite go through this week. We're going to try to have it for next week. 248-545-7685. Or if you're listening on a computer, use your nifty instant message gizmo there. Ben knows more about that sort of thing than I do.
Wow, I like how you said nifty. It's a very underutilized word.
Yes, we should use it now and then just to keep it alive, I guess.
Right.
My generation. Yeah. Ben is 17 and I'm 57. The dynamic is interesting. So, okay, we are coming up on a break right now, and we'll be right back on Behind the Paranormal here with sleeping artist Lee Hadwin to get deeper into this subject. Stay with us.
The I'm Thankful Network for inspiration, education, and collaboration. Show host and creator Sue Lundquist has the endless energy, compassion, and charisma to carry her mission. This mission of positive change and communication, while also creating a maintenance tool within a safe environment, providing a resource of knowledge through dynamic professionals in the receptive fields. Dr. Patricia Nan Anderson and her show Parenting the Field Guide on Mondays 12 to 1 Eastern on The Sky. Listen in Boston on 98.5 HD3, Detroit 99.5 HD3, and Seattle 96.5 HD3. Online at newskyradio.com, AOL, and Yahoo Launchcast. The Sky. New Horizons, No Boundaries. Powered by CBS Radio.
Said I'm older now. I work in a city, we live together, but it's different than my dream. Morning light fills the room and rise. She pretends she's sleeping. I wear everything we wanted. I'm thinking, lie, lie.
Psychic Radio. We know you're listening. Back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. Call now.
Our new number, 248-545-7685.
PsychicOnAir.com.
Okay, we're back Behind the Paranormal. Paul and Ben Eno, and our guest this evening is Lee Hadwin, the sleeping artist. Okay, we've been talking about some amazing things that have happened to him. He does amazing works of art in his sleep. And Lee, now your father is a country music performer, I believe, right?
Yes.
And you played in his band for a while without being asleep, I assume. And,
I don't know, sometimes.
So you certainly have artistic talent. But now how do you explain this painting while sleeping phenomenon we've been talking about?
I don't know, Paul. I put it back to maybe a couple of episodes. I think when I was growing up from the age of 4 to 7 and 9 years old, I think paranormal activities that affected me, I think, as a child.
Uh-huh.
I'll give you one example. I just remember lying in bed at my grandmother's house. I could have only been about 5 or 6. And hearing a noise above my head but not being able to open my eyes. And you know the cooking foil, like you normally cook your roast joint in?
Mm-hmm.
I could hear that like it was being shredded above my head and falling on my face, and actually being paralyzed and then waking up the next morning on the floor. So it's been events like that from an early age. Now, I did mention that to the people at the Edinburgh Sleep Clinic. They dismissed the fact that it could be anything else, but just a sleeping disorder. So, yeah, I never really looked into it any further from there, but that used to happen to me a lot as growing up as a child, and severe nightmares, as if I'd been taken away, not taken away by a UFO, but being taken away from this planet.
Yeah.
And from about 15, 16, I went through a bad stage of getting severe panic attacks. And after that, I couldn't, and I still can't, without getting panic attacks now, look at pictures of planet Earth or like the stars in the sky without getting panic attacks. It's quite hard to explain. So
It's extremely
I don't know
interesting.
if there's a connection there. So
Yeah.
that's all I can put.
Okay, well, Ben, just...
Yeah, I think, yeah, it's okay. I got this.
Okay.
What other paranormal experiences have you had recently?
Basically, and this is going to sound weird, and
It's all we get day in and day out on this show. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
what it was, going back a year ago in August, as you've probably seen on my website, I've got a section on 1111.
Yeah.
And I was doing a bit of work for the immigration department here in London for visas for people who want to get visas for Australia, New Zealand, and the States. And I just noticed on my computer 1111. I kept noticing this for a few days, and then it got more intense with different things and things happening around me every day. And I mentioned it to a friend. This is only going back about 3 months ago, and she said, why don't you look into numerology? Because I've been drawing a lot of numbers as well. So I went online, Googled numerology 1111. I didn't realize how much of a phenomenon it is around the world and the amount of people that see 1111. So it's affected me quite a bit. And one of my drawings, which recently appeared on New Zealand television, I had a call from a couple of scientists who want the drawing. They've sent me some pictures of what I've drawn and what some scientists have drawn, according to them, from NASA, of some vortexes and black holes. And it's been quite a spooky few months, especially with the 2012 film coming out and black holes and vortexes. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, it's been a bit of a strange few months. And I've not wanted to sort of throw it out there because obviously coincide with the film 2012, it comes across as a bit, I don't know, coincidental. So I've kept it to myself, really.
I see.
But I've logged onto my website, and as I said, that's been over a year now. So I was definitely seeing it before the film came out.
Well, thank you for sharing it with us. We run into this sort of thing all the time, and I don't know much about numerology, neither does Ben, as far as I know.
No.
But we've run into the number 41. We have one guest who lost his son in a terrible fire, a nightclub fire here in Rhode Island, where we live, in 2003, and the number 41 kept coming up associated with his son, and the son actually communicates with the family on a regular basis through this number 41. The number 84 has come up in a number of contexts as well, and all sorts of possibilities open up here. One thing I wanted to go back to, if you would, is the idea of the light shining on your face when you were. I mean, that has it's kind of got UFO written all over it, in a way. And I'm wondering what exactly. Yes, but you already answered. You have never felt that you've had an abduction experience, at least as far as you can remember, right?
Yeah, it was just the being paralyzed as a child and knowing that someone was above my head and not being able to open my eyes, waking up the next morning just on the floor.
Yeah.
But thinking I just got up the next morning, carried on as a child would, and it's only later in life where I used to get severe nightmares where my parents would wake me. I know that I'm safe, but still having the nightmare at the same time.
Yeah.
It's very surreal, and it used to be, I could even draw the ship that I was in to the people.
Okay.
It was like a cigar shaped ship, and it's just a horrific feeling, but it's not the feeling of being taken away. It was, I can't really explain it. It's the fact that you're in there.
Yeah.
And it's just really strange. And then looking back on the planet, which is even more bizarre.
Okay.
And I mean, if I look at documentaries now on space and that, it can freak me out quite a bit. It's like, I don't know, it's hard to explain, Paul. It's more of a sense feeling.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Well, sleep paralysis might be one explanation, but it seems to go farther than that. Are you familiar with the multiple worlds theory of quantum physics, the idea that there are parallel worlds and parallel lives?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we've discussions. A lot of my friends around me are quite spiritual people, fortunate for me, and obviously we have discussions about UFOs and different worlds and is there life after death, etc. So obviously when you're discussing things, you can take a lot on board. My beliefs, I think there are parallel universities and
Yeah, that's how we carry on all our paranormal work, with that assumption that there are. I'm thinking of several people here. Of course, Mozart, sitting down with little or no musical training and composing violin concerti since he was 4 years old. One of our own relatives, Julia Ward Howe, woke up out of a sound sleep one night in November 1861 and sat down at the desk and wrote the lyrics to the famous American patriotic song, The Battle Hymn of the Republic, claiming she had little or no memory of doing so. So, I mean, one does wonder if what one is doing in parallel lives. Have you ever been hypnotized or regressed?
No, I was going to, Paul, but then I remember watching a program, and again going back to when I was 17, 18, on certain people that had been hypnotized and hadn't come out properly. So I've always had that fear of, and people say, oh, it's impossible, but I remember watching a show and a lot of people hadn't come out, and it had taken them years and years and years to get therapy, etc. So I've been always a bit wary of going under. Yeah.
Hypnotism is controversial. I remember in the 60s and 70s it was somewhat in disrepute, and then sort of has been rehabilitated somewhat. I never used it myself or have been hypnotized as far as I can remember. So in any case, it's quite an interesting. So have you made any progress at all in explaining what happens to you at night? How you perform this art?
Not really, Paul. Not at all. But see, what's been weird is the 1111's taken over a lot of my time over especially the last couple.
Okay. Can you tell us more about that? Have you met others for whom that number is significant?
No, but I've chatted. I've obviously get emails from people around the world, and a lot of people, which I tend to agree with, are more of it's the other side trying to contact us through the number.
Yeah.
So a lot of people say, look, just try and speak out loud and say that you're listening to the other side, and maybe they can come through. So I'm probably gonna. I like that kind of that's the route I'm looking at.
Okay.
And then there's other people saying that they're warnings, like if you go onto Uri Geller's site, he's saying they're more of warnings and things like that. Whereas, my beliefs are a bit more. I like to be optimistic and look more at the positive side of life.
Sure. Ben has another question here.
Yeah, what happens when you try to paint when you're awake? Do you have the same talent?
No. No, definitely not. Definitely not, Ben. It's useless. I mean, I had a lot of stick last year about saying how how can you prove that? My biggest problem after I did the documentary and during the documentary was trying to prove that I couldn't draw while I was awake. Believe it or not, that's been the hardest thing, is trying to prove that I'm not an artist. So obviously they had to go to my old school teachers from high school and primary school, looked at all my school reports. And like I said to people, if, let's just say it was a deliberate hoax, as a lot of people have said, I wouldn't, if I was a true artist, I would have gone to art college and not sacrificed my talent as an artist.
Yeah.
It's like I'm into music, so there's no way I would have sacrificed my music playing for all those years. So I think if you're a true artist, I would have obviously gone to art college and followed my art career. But no, in my waking life, I can't draw at all, and that's what's
Interesting.
That's what's quite.
Yeah. So in waking life, you concentrate a great deal on music.
Yeah, I've always been into music, Paul. I mean, I haven't picked up my bass guitar for a few years now since I left my father's country band. But I was into country music, folk music. So yeah, I'm basically singing.
Okay.
That's what I love doing.
All right.
So,
And you obviously consider yourself a spiritual person.
yeah, definitely. I mean, growing up just in North Wales in a small village, I lost about 5 or 6 friends growing up from the age of 6 years old through different things happening. So I think when you lose a few of your friends, especially in primary school, I lost both of my good friends. They were brothers. Unfortunately, both of them died at the age of 11 and 12. So
Oh, dear.
I think when you go through different things in life,
Yeah.
things happen for a reason. And, I just think there's other things out there and you've got to keep an open mind.
Mm-hmm.
There's a universe out there and we're here for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. What are your dreams like? In generally speaking, do they tend to be lucid? Do you dream while you're working on art? Are you dreaming at the same time? What's happening?
Yeah, in terms of lucid dreaming, Paul, I met a lady not so long ago. She's quite known over here. Her name's Svetlana. She does a lot for different centres over here, and I got speaking to her last year. And my grandfather passed away in February of this year, and I started having dreams about him, but knowing at the same time in the dream that he wasn't alive, and telling myself that in the dream. So obviously that side of lucid dreaming, I do quite a lot of that at the moment, but I never did before.
Okay.
Before he passed away. So that's something new which has been happening to me over this last year as well. So
yeah,
but my dreams are quite vivid. I remember a lot of my dreams, but 90% of my dreams they're good dreams. There's nothing about painting.
Okay.
That I recall the next day. So
all right.
I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't have no connection with the drawings whatsoever, and it's a bit frustrating. And then at the same time, because I'm seeing the 11/11 over the last, over the last year.
Yeah.
I've been focusing on it because I can connect with that because obviously it's in my waking life.
Sure.
So I've been probably putting a lot of effort into that this last year, and just letting the paintings do what they do.
Yeah.
So
okay. All right. Well, we're going to be back. We have another break coming up. We'll be back with Lee Hadwin very shortly to continue deeper into this mysterious realm of the sleeping artist. Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. Stay with us.
Psychic Radio. 24 hours a day. Reach out from beyond to your ears. On the web now. Log on to psychiconair.com. Your spiritual well-being is our concern. This is Psychic Radio. Powered online by AOL at psychiconair.com.
We know you're listening.
Well, it's a marvelous night for a moon dance with the stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make romance neath the cover of October skies. The leaves on the trees are falling to the sound of the breezes that blow. I'm trying to please to the calling of your heartstrings that play soft and low. The night's magic seems to whisper and hush. The soft moonlight seems to shine in your blush. Can I just have one more moon dance with you? my love. Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? It's a marvelous night for a moon dance with stars up above in your eyes. A fantabulous night to make a romance near the cover of October skies. All the leaves on the trees are falling to the sound of the breezes that blow. And I'm trying to place to the calling of your heartstrings that play soft and low. In all the night's magic seems to whisper and hush. In all the soft moonlight seems to shine in your place. Can I just make some more romance with you, my love? One more moon dance with you in the moonlight on a magic night. The moonlight on a magic night. Can I just have one moment dance with you, my love?
Psychic Radio. We know you're listening. Back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno.
Our new number, 248-545-7685.
PsychicOnAir.com.
Believe.
Okay, we are back Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno, and we have our special guest this evening, Lee Hadwin of London, native of Wales, who is the sleeping artist, and we're having a deep and, in a way, kind of frustrating discussion about his tremendous abilities and the circumstances in which he reveals them to the world. Lee, as you said, Ben was going to ask you if you'd been hypnotized, but you've never been. Yeah, and in order to sort of get deeper into what this is, so that answers that. But we're wondering here what possibilities there might be, or what other indications that you are living perhaps parallel lives here in a way, because we run into that all the time, and especially this number 1111 that keeps coming up in your life. I wonder if there's not a connection, but tell us more about the 1111. Are you running into other people who are running into that number?
It's strange. Like when I mention it to people, a lot of people see it after you've mentioned it to them. And I actually had a conversation with a couple of school teachers 2 nights ago about this, and they were saying, well, it's because you're looking for it. Which I do agree, and I don't agree. Yeah, but part of me was at first, am I looking for it? But it's what attracts you to the number in the beginning. That's what is frustrating. It's like you think back and think, when did I first start seeing it? And obviously, you have to be attracted to it in the beginning to obviously start seeing it all the time.
Yeah.
So it's that first initial of seeing it, and it's not. I could, if it was just there on your clock and you happen to look and it's 11:11, then yeah, fair enough. But one example was like, I was with my father and my partner, and he asked me to phone his brother on his mobile. Now, the time was 27 minutes past 11, and he handed me his flip phone. I opened the flip phone, and his flip phone says 11:11. So It's stuff like that where, it's, one clock saying one thing, yet when I go to somewhere else, it's saying 11:11. Like my grandfather's birthday, that was 11:11. Caught the train in Barcelona, that was platform 11, train number 11, time 11:11. So it's stuff like that. It's not like I've gone out to look for it. It's just very coincidental. And I'm not saying that there is anything in it, but obviously there's thousands of people around the world that do see it. And especially with some of the artwork I've done and being told from different people around the world that they're seeing different things in my work, especially the numbers.
My mother's birthday is 11/11, now that I think of it.
There you go.
Yeah, so we just celebrated it down there at the nursing home. What is your opinion on 2012? I don't know. Ben thinks some things. I think I don't know. What is your opinion as that approaches? I mean, will anything happen, and what'll it be? Is it as the astronomers say?
I don't think anything will happen, Paul. As I said, with 2012, etc., and 11/11, I only really looked into that over the last 5 or 6 weeks when a friend said to me, "Oh, you need to look at the Mayan calendar and all this." And obviously, then the film came out, so I've not really had much. I haven't even seen the film yet, but I'm not really into these big blockbuster Hollywood projections.
Ben is kind of our film critic, and he doesn't have a very high opinion of it.
No, it may have John Cusack in it, but it's not that good. I didn't like it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well,
I think it takes a lot away from things, Paul. I mean, if there is something going to happen, it's going to happen, but I personally don't think so. I just think the Mayans maybe were of a higher intelligence, or there was something out beyond our planet that was around in those times.
Sure.
We just might be being watched. That's all. We might, this could be a trial or something. You don't know,
right.
do you?
Well, I'll bless you with my opinion here. All right. Essentially, I think that, obviously what is being said is that astronomers are suggesting that there is a tremendous electromagnetic pulse or disturbance of some kind that has really already begun and will peak at about that time, or it could be 2016, nobody's sure. And that can have all sorts of bizarre consequences for human life as it is today, whether it be the electrical grid or whatever. One thing we are noticing in our paranormal work is that the lines, if you will, or as a physicist might say, the membranes between these parallel worlds, if you believe in those things, tend to be thinning. There seems to be a tremendous increase in the quantity of paranormal events, seemingly. Strange things are happening, such as you. Let me rephrase that. Such as your experiences. Okay, and this seems to be a pattern that is emerging, seemingly as we approach 2012. Okay, so as a result, that in my opinion may have something to do with what is occurring with you. Now, again, this has been happening for many years with you. Have you noticed an increase in your paranormal experiences in general, or in your artwork in particular?
Only, as I said, Paul, in this last year, since February, when I've started drawing in colour and doing numbers, and obviously with some of the drawings which have just been recently seen in New Zealand and getting feedback from them saying that there's stuff in my drawings which only scientists would know about, vortexes and black holes, which I've actually drawn.
I saw
and
some
they're identical drawings of what some scientists have drawn. So it's stuff like that, and basically with the 11/11 and the film coming out, it's been a bit of a crazy.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just I don't know if it's coincidental. I mean, it was like going back in the 90s when you had the X-Files coming out, everyone was reporting UFO sightings and all this. So you've got to be very careful that you don't get caught up in the hype of things, and I try and separate myself from.
Okay.
That's why I'm not even bothered going to see the film. I try and separate myself from the hype.
Okay, no, I hear you. Yep.
I know what's true to myself and what my beliefs are, and it just becomes mass hysteria.
Sure.
Okay. And if things are happening, it'd be nice to get to the root of everything.
Absolutely. Okay, we got 3 minutes left till our next break, but I think we got time for an email here that came in for Lee from Mandy J in Detroit. Take it away, Matt.
All right. Has Lee Hadwin ever found any pattern or theme in what he paints? Like, is there a whole month where he paints landscapes, and do they relate to each other and so on?
Good question. And basically, only with the fairies that I've been doing, I tend to do them like I did about 2 fairies a couple of days ago, and they've always been around like November, December time.
Yeah.
That's the only real pinpoint I can really say. Whether that's got to do anything with Christmas or anything, I don't know, but that's what I tend to have drawn over the last few years. And as I said, I've been doing numbers since February of this year, which and started painting in colour. So that's just the connection I see there, really.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, that is a good question. I mean, because I was wondering that too. Patterns might reveal something of the origin, perhaps, of the experience, But you don't draw bunnies at Easter or anything like that. Huh?
No, not
No.
yet.
Okay. Okay. We have one from Jake in Lakeland. We're almost running out of time. Lakeland, Florida. And Jake writes...
Is there anything in Hadwin's works that seems prophetic to him, or anything about 2012, even though we just
Yeah, well, we
talked about
kind of
that?
already talked about that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, prophetic to you.
All right. Well, just so we know, Jake, those that we got is... I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that, Lee.
No, it's just a good question, Paul. I mean, what I'd like to do is, if we can, is obviously people can go to the website or contact you guys, just have a look at the works and see what they see in it.
Exactly.
So I think, the more eyes there are, then obviously people can come up with answers. I mean, to me, it's just a painting. So, the more people that see my work, then they may see more things in it. So, yeah.
There's a good question here. This is from Ed Lane in Toronto, Ontario, and we're almost down to our break, but maybe we can think about this over the break. I thought it was a very good question. Does Mr. Hadwin ever get the feeling that he doesn't belong in his waking life, that he doesn't belong where he is? And we often get that. People who feel that they don't belong even with the human species, or they don't belong in this time. I mean, what do you think of that idea?
Yeah, it's an excellent question, Paul. I think as human beings, I think we all have moments in our lives where we're looking in on ourselves.
Yeah.
And we do have a belonging and we don't. I will say once, about the last 3 years since my grandfather, but my grandmother passed away, and a few of my friends I don't know, it's hard to explain. I get a lot of uplifting feelings a lot of the time.
Yeah.
That could be bipolar, though. I don't know.
Yeah, I see. Well, that's the trouble. Sometimes paranormal phenomena can interact with neural conditions or things of this kind. It gets really complicated. Okay, so we're going to wrap it up for our break. And again, we'll be back very shortly with Lee Hadwin, the sleeping artist, here on Behind the Paranormal. Stay with us.
From our universe to yours, this is Psychic Radio.
We know you're listening.
Log on to psychiconair.com.
Yes, the same kind of story that seems to come down from long ago. Two friends having coffee together when something flies by their window. It might be out on that lawn, which is wide at least half of the playing field. Because there's no explaining what your imagination can make you see and feel. Your body likes nothing, you're hypnotized. Now it's not a meaningless question to ask if they've been and gone. I remember a talk about North Carolina in a strange, strange pond. You see, the sides were like glass in the thick of a forest without a road. And if any man's hand ever made that land, then I think it would have showed. And that's why it seems like a dream. They got me hypnotized. When it seems like a dream, they got you hypnotized. Your body means nothing. You're hypnotized. It seems like a dream. They got you hypnotized. Yeah, that's when they got you hypnotized. It seems like a dream. It seems like a dream.
Psychic Radio.
We know you're listening. Back to Behind the Paranormal with Paul and Ben Eno. Call now.
Our new number, 248-545-7685.
PsychicOnAir.com.
Okay, Ben and I are back, and we're just finishing up our conversation with sleeping artist Lee Hadwin. Now, Lee, we've haven't had time to cover everything we wanted to, but what does the future hold for you? There were some exhibitions, I understand, in the
Yeah,
web.
I've got a few coming up this next year here in London, and obviously in talks at the moment with some people in Paris and New York. So, yeah, hopefully I can get my work out there, and people can come and see it for themselves and take away what they want from it. That's the main thing, and
Excellent.
might get some answers.
Okay, well, we're definitely going to have you back, and pointing people again to your website, leehadwin.com. Check it out and keep up with his news, and this guy's going to go places. So, Lee, thanks again for being with us, and we'll have you back soon. Great. Take care.
Pleasure. Thanks, Paul and Ben. Take care.
All right,
Thank
bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Now we understand we have on the line here one of our first reporters for our show. We put out a call for reporters, people to keep an eye on what's going on in their own areas. And I understand we have Lee Dayton with us from Arizona. Kyle, sorry. That's been a long day. Kyle, hello.
Hi, I knew who you meant. Hi, thank you for having me on your 98th show. And congratulations for making it so far here.
Sooner or later, we'll get your name straight.
Oh,
okay, why don't you just introduce yourself? And I understand you have your own show down in the Southwest. And tell us about yourself and what you hope to do for us.
Okay, well, since March, we've had a community access cable television show taped here in Tucson called Cosmic Chronicles. Previously, I was the co-host and audio and the camera operator for a show called The Cutting Edge, Revealing the Truth. That was on for about 5 years. Our website is connected to UFOshows.com, which is the Cutting Edge website. And there's a web page for Cosmic Chronicles as well there. And we talk about some of the subjects that you talk about. What I'm going to do on my phone-ins to you is discuss what's going on here in the Southwest and parts past Arizona here. Where I'm living is an area actually I'm living in a place called Arizona City. It's an unincorporated town near a region of Arizona unofficially known as the UFO Triangle or the Arizona Triangle. And that is the area, it's basically south central Arizona, in the area between Casa Grande, or you could say Casa Grande, Gila Bend, and Zacatón. It's sort of like an elongated triangle with a top point facing west. And there's a lot of history in this area and also a lot of UFO sightings and also, too, a rich history. One gentleman that came to mind was the late Ira Hayes, who was the Pima Indian born in Zacatón and fought in World War II and was one of the original 6 flag raisers on Mount Suribachi in Iwo Jima. And in this area, we think that possibly the military is testing aircraft here. But, we think it's the military. We've been seeing what the neighbors unofficially call, kind of tongue-in-cheek, the Phoenix Lights. We see round orange fireballs here that kind of just stay in one place, strange triangle flying UFOs or some kind of high-tech plane that sometimes you can hear their engine and sometimes that you can't, and they fly really slow, sometimes about 35 miles an hour. Myself and other neighbors have been videotaping I've been living here about the past 3 years, and I've been videotaping ever since. So I recently put together just a DVD just for fun, just for the record, to try to get to experts to see if they can explain what's going on here. The area west of us, directly west, is the Barry Goldwater Air Force Range, and east of us is a known CIA air park, and they used to have a sign out there saying it was a CIA air park, but now that sign has been taken down. And also, a little bit, actually, east of us is Fort Huachuca Air Force, it's the Army base, and that is the headquarters for Army intelligence. So who knows what they're testing out here? So I hope
really, who knows? Yeah, it's true.
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to? Oh, I was going to say.
No, I had mentioned to you that I had a Phoenix Lights experience, so to speak. Ben and I were flying to San Diego on a night flight in '07.
Yeah, I was asleep.
Yeah, you were asleep. You were also on the other side of the plane. I
Yep.
mean, plane travel being what it is, you're lucky you're on the same plane as your loved ones, never mind the same seat. So I happened to look out, and we were passing over the city of Phoenix, and just on the other side of it, where the mountains begin, you could see these three large lights, balls of light, glowing at what I would guess, and this is just my military experience, such as it is, kicking in about 10,000 feet. We were at 33,000, and these. And I stared at these things, and I saw one was moving, very much on its own. One landed. And the other sort of stayed where it was. One disappeared, another appeared. And, 12 years in the military, I know what a flare looks like.
Sure.
And this is not what this was.
Mm-hmm.
And just seeing the things from an aircraft is something I've never heard reported before. Most other people were asleep. And when we got to San Diego, I found out that there had been a sighting the previous night. And so I don't know if you had heard about that particular sighting, but we'd hope to do a show just on the Phoenix Lights, maybe get some witnesses together, that sort of thing. But being in your area, I thought you'd be interested in that story.
Yes, I am familiar with that story, not as familiar as I'd like to be, but I remember the sighting of '07, and it didn't get as much coverage around here as it should have. It probably got more national coverage than local coverage. And, that was a little bit disappointing. I know that my friend, he's a videographer named Jeff Willis, who is from the Phoenix area, and he was basically one of the only people that, well, actually possibly the only person that got daytime footage of the original Phoenix Lights. And also,
really? Okay.
Yes, Dr. Lynn Ketai wrote a book called The Phoenix Lights, and she got some dynamite nighttime footage. And it's strange because some of the lights that we've been seeing here and documenting on video are very similar to those. So I don't know what's going on, but it's the phenomenon is still going on here, and I hope to report on that. And I would love to hear more about your sightings. I mean, I have not spoke to anyone about seeing the lights above the lights. And
very interesting. Okay, well, unfortunately that's about all there is to say because the plane was flying, and obviously we eventually lost sight of these things. But one thing that struck me was that they were very large, at least from my perspective, and that they were, as I say, maybe 15 to 20,000 feet below where we were. Again, my military experience being what it is, I was not a pilot or anything, but and distances in the air can be very misleading. But nevertheless, that's how I remember it. But tell us about what about your own television show and what else you're working on right now.
Oh, okay. Well, we are. I've been off of the air for a couple of months due to health problems of a loved one, and going back live December 11th, our guest is Dr. Louis Turi, who is I don't know if you would call him an biological astronomer or bioastrologer, and he gives predictions, and he's going to give his predictions and how he sees them for 2010 based on the position of the stars and the planets. Yes.
All right, very good. Okay.
And,
well, Kyle Dayton, we thank you for calling in, and I'm sure you're going to be a great friend of ours. We're down to 1 minute here. We got to go, but we'll talk to you real soon, and can't wait to hear what you have to say.
Oh, that's it. I'm looking forward to talking with you and bringing you some interesting information from our neck of the woods, and I thank you.
Okay, take it away, Ben.
So many thanks to our producer, Will Kosnick, and we'll see you next week, or next Sunday.
That's December 6th.
7th. Yep. December 6th at 7 Eastern, 4 Pacific, right here on CBS Radio and PsychicOnAir.com, when our guest will be paranormal expert Shane Sirwar to talk more about what's really going on in the paranormal trenches and those hot ghost hunting TV shows.
Be surprised what goes on, and we'll see you then.
All right, see you next week.